Now, you may well have seen the name Genshin Impact knocking around, pretty much because it seems to be blowing up massively, pulling large Twitch viewership, spreading into different gaming communities, and spawning a rapidly expanding amount of online content. Yet, if you were anything like me, you likely had, or have, no idea what it is. I'd go as far as to say that for some in the Western world audience, it's something you maybe can't relate to very easily at first glance. And so my job today is to run you through the basics of what Genshin Impact is, provide you with some opinions and early gameplay, and help you to decide if it's worth your time. The answer could of course go either way, but for many of you, it's without doubt worth a shot. Let's get into this. This is Genshin Impact. This video is brought to you by the Board of Awesome from the epic people that support the channel on Patreon, and the current goal for the channel is to hit 60k subscribers, currently sitting at 54k, so if you're new here or want to see more, hitting that subscribe button would be fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to show you very early gameplay of this game for two reasons. One, I've not played as much as some, although a lot more than I'm showing here in this video, but more importantly, I don't wish to spoil anything for you. You can get a solid grip of what the game is from very early play, and then personally enjoy and experience everything that comes after it for the first time. So the basics. What exactly is Genshin Impact in one sentence? Well, it's a free-to-play action role-playing game set in an open world. A reasonably familiar concept for those of you who have played something or seen something like Zelda Breath of the Wild. A game with clear comparisons and similarities to Genshin Impact, but we'll get to that soon. More deeply, Genshin Impact is developed and published by miHoYo. It's a fantasy-based game released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, Android, and iOS on September the 28th, 2020, with a Nintendo Switch version also apparently on the way, and you can use a controller on PC by the way, as I did for this gameplay. And there are reports of it being the largest launch of a Chinese game ever, which would explain the blow up and probably why it's entered your consciousness. And so to those obvious comparisons with Zelda Breath of the Wild. Well, many have and will label this game as a free-to-play Breath of the Wild knockoff, and you can tell why after seeing just a little of the gameplay, but I and many others feel that it's simply too good to be considered just that. Not to mention that when you properly get into it, Genshin Impact actually ends up playing really quite differently in some key ways. So while it's heavily inspired by Zelda, it arguably expands upon the formula, with character switching being heavily involved and how those characters play off each other with different elements combining, because you create or bring together a group of adventurers to utilize on the fly. Plus it has a completely original story and co-op aspects if you wish, once you reach Adventurer rank 16, so this is quite simply not a replica of Breath of the Wild. And this game goes deep. It has many currencies, mechanics, and menus, which will be wholly overwhelming for some, with a section of those likely quitting out early upon that realization, which is okay if you don't like that kind of thing, while others will come to learn and understand it. Alternatively, it will be instantly satisfying for others who are used to this kind of thing, those that seek out a deep and detailed experience in which they can select what's of value to them, what to focus upon, and how to best go about utilizing all of the mechanics and options. Genshin Impact is truly something to immerse yourself and lose yourself in, should you wish, aided by the fact you can play basically any time on your PC or PlayStation or on your phone, a time killer for boring moments, or a game that swallows up entire evenings until you forced yourself to sleep. That is, if you're on board with what the game is on a stylistic and presentation level. Some will love it and some will truly hate it, with many probably already having decided which they are by this point of the video, although I urge no one to prejudge the game too harshly without having played it. I know that some simply won't appreciate the tone or style. This is anime stuff, there's the typically high-pitched voices or exaggerated voices, it's highly stylized, there are long dialogue sections, waifus, etc. Pretty much everyone is made to look somewhat attractive in that kind of creepy cartoony way. I think a great litmus test will be Paimon, your companion who you meet straight away. She talks a lot in a high-pitched voice and refers to herself in the third person.
The elements in this world responded to your prayers, and Paimon thinks that's a lovely sign.
If you think you'll be able to accept or perhaps even enjoy that, then you're probably going to be okay. If not, if it grates on you, well, it's for sure an early warning sign. And while we're on the subject of warning against potential issues, this game does have gacha mechanics, or gacha, I don't quite know how you say it, but essentially that means there are aspects that can be paid for with real money without a truly predefined outcome, somewhat similar to loot boxes. These come in the form of wishes, which you use and then see what rewards you get in terms of weapons, characters, and such. Now, this isn't an issue for me via in-game earning of currency and opportunities, but it's obviously more problematic for those that engage in real-world financing of the wishes, using real money. The onus is on the player to choose if they do or not. Let me stress heavily that you don't have to spend any money at all. It's entirely possible to play and indeed succeed in the game without spending. This is not a hardcore pay-to-win scenario, nor is the game completely watered down or limited if you don't pay real money. If you don't want to spend, then simply don't. And if you have an addictive personality, then I pretty much warn against doing so. But otherwise, do as you wish either way. But moving on, what about aesthetics? Well, it's up to you if you like the style of the game, but it looks great from a presentation standpoint in terms of what they've been able to do. The idea that free-to-play games can't, won't, or don't look like AAA titles is a thing of the past in this kind of game's case. Although I must say this gameplay is me playing on PC with all of the graphical options set to high. But yeah, it's a good-looking open-world experience that hits all of the right notes, with item pickups all over the map for materials, chests to find, animals to kill for cooking materials, and such like. So there's always something to look for and chase those dopamine and serotonin releases, all accompanied by the kind of soothing music usually associated with a game of this nature and presentation. I'll also add that frustration is kept to a minimum for the more frequent and minor mechanics of the game. Cooking is a simple timing exercise, you receive your glider early on so you aren't stuck on foot, certain aspects can be seen as improvements over some aspects of Breath of the Wild. Weapons don't degrade, so you can simply use what you like until you find something better. This is all personal preference stuff, of course, but it's certainly more forgiving and accessible. And where those weapons are concerned, as you've been seeing, there's combat. There's some basic hacking and slashing with some timing thrown in for dashing, there's bow play and stuff like that, but there's so much more when it comes to the elemental ability aspects. As alluded to earlier, you have different characters to switch between, with different skill sets and combos. The ability of one character may tie in with that of another, so quick switching between them for combination effects can be highly effective and satisfying. There's something to fit different playstyles and preferences, and also keeps the combat fresh. And while I've shown you just very early combat gameplay, there's a whole load more to explore and experience. And there is a wider experience to be had with paid for aspects, of course, at least logically I assume so, as you get more characters, more weapons, but it truly isn't necessary. So even with the warnings covered in this video, Genshin Impact will be a highly worthwhile game for some players, and something that is certainly worth a look as it's free to play if you have any interest at all. But you need to decide for yourself. Is Genshin Impact worth your time? Let me know in the comments below. And that is my presentation for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hitting the like and the subscribe button would be massively appreciated, and you'll get to see more content from me. And all the links to Twitch and my social media such as Twitter, Discord, all of that can be found in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters. Support ships are versatile, etc. Tip number 11. Story mode will provide you with skills for multiplayer. This could be of use for many of you out there. Tip number 12. There's a practice range.